Hi there. I'm here to tell you a little bit about this assessment that allows you to discover the meaning in your life and what you're built for and the larger story that you're really to step into in this lifetime. And so the assessment is it's very exciting, and it's very simple and straightforward, and by the end of this you will have a pretty good idea of how it all works, and you can do this all at home on a piece of paper and start to engage in a more meaningful and prosperous and vital life. But we get ahead of ourselves a little bit. What would an assessment be without a story? In fact, this one story comes from a village that was used to assessing and processing and loving and caring and being a village and beautying and being scientificing and doing arting and eating and sleeping, and you get the picture. A full, wonderful village. However, it was, it was this young woman's turn to leave the village and discover all of what that larger, more meaningful, prosperous, and vital story was about. And so away she went. The blessings from the elders came, and the Omni Padme Oms came, and the tears came too. It was a very sad moment, but everybody knew that if she went out and discovered her larger story, she would be back, and she would then be able to contribute to the strengthening and the building and the thickening of the walls of the actual village itself. So away she went. And of course, it wasn't a long time or a short time, or maybe it was just a little bit of a roundabout time, but it was about then that she noticed she was full of symptoms. In fact, she had got herself somehow all sorts of fancy diagnoses from the local psychiatric unit, and she had seen all sorts of doctors and all sorts of particular psychiatrists and healers and scientists and artists and whatnot. And in the end, she was very confused about all of it. And at some point, she was asked to be seen by a particular unique and quite rascally and maybe even a bit of a wise person who was coming to town from Tibet, I think. Or was it Ireland? It might have been Africa. It could have easily have been the North Shore. Either way, she went to see him, and he said to her, "Look, hello there. How can I help you?" And she said, "Well, I guess you want to start talking about the problem." And he said, "No, not really, unless it's useful for you. And has it been useful talking about the problem to other people? You've seen a lot of people in the past." And of course, she thought about it and said, "No, actually, it hasn't been useful." So she stopped right then and there in her tracks and said no more about the problem, but noticed that there was a big, huge silence that filled up the room, a real pause. And she said, "Well, what are we going to talk about?" And he said, "Well, look, I don't know. What are you interested in? What have you always been interested in? What is your ultimate concern?" She said, "Well, that's easy. I've only ever been interested in the story of the various myths in the world and how they really have an effect on people's lives, despite people thinking that they don't." So 6 months went by, and of course things improved vastly, and there was a great noticing of the fact that she was on half her meds, she was dating somebody again, she wasn't spending a lot of time in the psych ward. She was had moved out of her parents' basement apartment, and she was starting to work part-time as a result of working part-time, finishing up her master's degree, and of course the practical applications of mythology. And so she was starting to make money, and it was all good. But she said to this man, "Look, hello, shouldn't we be really talking about the problem? I mean, what if people find out we're not really talking about the problem?" He said, "Look, it's up to you. We can talk about the problem. Okay, sure, let's talk about the problem. But do you want to talk about the problem? And she said, no, I don't. So another 2 years went by of not talking about the problem, and things radically improved. She was doing her PhD, she was engaged to be married, she was making money, there was a proliferation of energy and vitality and soul and richness and breadth and depth in her life, and it was time for her to go. Away she went back to the village, and lo and behold, they were waiting for her. And when she came back in, the party started, celebrations began. The court jester was brought out, the storytellers and musicians, the food, the cooks, the bakers, the candlestick makers, the shoemakers. They all went to town to produce some article of beauty that could come to the village gathering and banquet, and to celebrate the now the bride and her prince coming back to town. And they were really looking forward to the fact that they could really celebrate within the village now, because they had somehow predestined or thought about or prophesied that there would be somebody that would come back with this particular gift of understanding the real practical realities of mythologies, and how archetypes of heroes and heroines and dragons and crones and magicians and all sorts of people actually start to really affect their life and direct their lives. So a great party was had. I would even be celebrating now with you with a very rich and deep and full-bodied bottle of wine. But on the way here, unfortunately, I got tripped up on the curb, and it went into the sewer all at once. So there we are. We're here now without the bottle of wine, but with the story. So yeah, so that's the story, and really talks about that we are a mystery to be embraced more than we are a particular problem to be solved. But that story gets deconstructed and talked about in terms of the global idea of problem to be solved versus mystery to be embraced, and the heart teachings, and then also the nuts and bolts of how to work with that bring that into your life with certain strategies and tools and whatnot. That's for another video, and you could find that on our website. But I want to talk about the assessment now. So how do we get this mythology, mystery? How do we get our particular gift? How do we understand the gifts and get the particular meaning and what it is that we're designed for out of our system? Well, one of the ways to do this is really simple. I'm going to show you with my trusty chart here. By the way, the whole system here comes from, we come by it, it's our really very accurately our Western tradition of mystery, of mystery schools. It can be traced all the way back through Egypt, comes up through Greece and translated into the Latin and Roman times, and then of course the Renaissance 500 years ago in Florence, and the Florentine Academy brought it all to bear again, and then it went underground for a little while, and well, here we are. We have no time like the present, and it seems like we could do with this. So very simply, this code of accessing the meaning that we're already built for in our life is really quite simple. So if we were to draw a picture, come on, pen, you can do this. This is your head, and this, of course, is your body. And you have a beautiful smile, and then you have a nose, and you've got some beautiful eyes and some ears, and maybe a very groovy haircut. And then, of course, you have hands for touching, feet for walking, and yeah, you're all set up there. Do you recognize yourself? Of course you do. That's himself looking at himself, isn't it? So what you can do is draw a picture of a yourself or somebody that looks like a stick man. Quite simple. And what we're going to do is talk about the five senses: the ears, the tastes, the nose, the eyes. And we're going to talk about, or you're going to write down 3 things in each of these areas, and the same, of course, with touch, because these are our 5 senses. Everybody knows we have 5 senses. We also have instinct, right in the middle there. And the way this idea works is that we have 5 senses plus. We're going to talk about some others. But the way this works is that if you really want to find out what you're built for and understand a little bit more of the piece, a little bit more about who you are and actually how you're already now built for a very deep, rich, natural peace and calm and way to be in the world. It's most instinctual, and it's not based on whether you do the right yoga class or play the right hockey or eat the right food, or it's not based so much on that as it is on really what you're already drawn to. It's very accurate in terms of music. You might be drawn to the Beatles. It's not the Rolling Stones. It's the sound of water. It's not the sound of 2 hands clapping. Beatles, water, it also might be the sound of bees. Very accurate. And for some reason, when you actually hear these sounds, your body goes, ugh, just relaxes a notch. And your little heart, starts to go, yes, I like that. That feels right. That's who I am already. I know that to be true. Now, in terms of visuals, it might be Picasso, not Miro, or any of the other artists, modern or political artists, doesn't matter. It's Picasso for you. It's also Ando's buildings. The simplicity, the lines, and it's carnations, believe it or not. It's the actual flower of carnations. In terms of the smell, it might be that it's wild rose. It's not domestic rose scent. It's the smell of chai and the sea. You're starting to get the picture? You are very accurate. You do this all for yourself at home there. And in terms of the taste, it is cardamom. I'm making this up. Cardamom. I don't know if I spelled that right. It's cardamom. It's the taste of seaweed. I know, sounds weird, right? But and it's also the taste of organic muffins. I know, we're all weird, right? But these are things that people like, these organic muffins. I mean, you can't argue with an organic muffin or somebody who likes an organic. They like what they like, can't help it. It's just who they are. Now, in terms of touch, it's a head massage, not a full body massage. It's a loofah on the back, in the morning in the shower. And it's also the touch of the sun coming down in the evening. So evening sun on the belly. Can you see how accurate this is? Like each one of you, every single person on the planet has a different, we could list 5. We could list 25 in each of those areas. But my point is, in terms of really assessing where the meaning and the value of the meaning is in your life, you want to consider the 5 senses. It's really quite simple. Now, if we also add to that, there is a 6th sense, or our instinct. Let's call it instinct. And instinct is dialed into our primal nature, our old brain in terms of modern science. We know that there's the reptilian brain, and then we have the prefrontal cortex. But it's also connected to a very deep and old meaningful and evolutionary biological process of understanding. And we have a certain instinct to be with certain animals. Again, we could do 3 of these. It's animals. Instinctively, you like to hunt. you know, but you like to hunt with a camera, not with a bow and arrow. Your instinct is like you just have this, you have this verve for I'm going to say baseball. Somehow when you're playing baseball, you are feeling like, yes, this is what I'm built for. Can you see how you're built? You see your design very succinctly, very accurately. When you add all of this up, can I fit that in there? When you add all of these things up, what you start to see is that you are, so you add, you know, the ears, you add to the eyes, to the nose, to the taste, to the touch, to the instincts. When you add that all up, that very quickly starts to give you some huge hints towards meaning and therefore a meaningful life. Why? Because your passions are already built into you. You don't have to meditate on it even. You just have to claim it and own it and almost put your flagpole in the ground. These are my colors of my flag. This is who I am. Put a stake in the ground and start to speak up about the fact that this is what you know to be true. And when you start to stand in this passion, you can't help find a more meaningful place in the world. You can't help discover people who are also similar to you in so many ways. And you start to build relationships around things that you really like and are drawn to. It's Mozart. It's not, you're not drawn to the modern new music, you know, the very groovy, cutting edge, you know, DJ music. It's Mozart. That puts you in the company of a certain kind of people, a certain kind of person. So like the story, not a problem to be solved. In fact, all the symptoms that you're having are trying to bring you back to this deep, deep... Okay, we need a different color pen here, folks. This kind of nourishment. This is what you would call a very nourishing life. Deeply nourishing, deeply rich. Shall I go on? Can you see how straightforward and easy this is? It's really fabulous, and it's brought to you by our own Western cultural heritage and our own mystical traditions. In the West, call it Christian, Judaic, Islamic, call it deeper than that. Before that, back to all the way to Egypt. And it's relatively easy. This, in fact, tells you very quickly who you are. In the West, we ask this question, but in the East they ask that question a lot. Well, who am I really? Well, if I know who I am, then I know where the meaning is. Well, this already answers the question who you are. And when you give yourself the right smells, the right tastes, the right sights, and you put yourself into the architecture that turns you on, and start bringing time and energy into it as well, how you like to spend time with the sunset, with a taste of cardamom chai tea and a beautiful, sea cucumber, because you like that, and the music in your headphones, you start to realize, you start to really blossom and start to thrive. And this energy spills out. You become very attractive to all sorts of people, and they're drawn to you because you're standing in who you are. This is your most authentic nature. So please enjoy doing this process. I'm here at Meaningful Life Design. If any of you have any questions, meaningfullifedesign.com. I'm here also at 604-317-1613. And you could, we could just answer some more of your questions about this. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll be speaking to you soon. Okay, bye for now.